Welcome to Greenville Grit, Greenville residents in touch on 103.7 WTIB. This is the local show that keeps you connected and in touch with the issues that are happening and affect your community. Greenville Grit is sponsored by Ribeyes and Greenville Toyota. Now, here's your host for Greenville Grit, Terry Williams.
Hello and welcome to Greenville Grit. I'm Terry Williams, here with my co-host, PJ Conley.
Thank you for having me again.
Nice to have you with us today. And we have a terrific guest on today. We have Andrew Schmidt with us today.
Wow,
Did I
terrific
say that
guest.
Right?
Thank you.
Yes.
That's pumping me up. Thanks.
That's right. We're expecting to hear great things from you, who is our Executive Director of the Greenville Pitt County Convention and Visitors Bureau. It's a long,
perfect. You got it right.
It's a long
It
title.
is long.
But that's okay. It's a long title for a lot happening.
Exactly.
So, it deserves it. Well, let's thank our sponsors before we get started. We want to thank Greenville Toyota, who've been with us since the beginning. I say that every week, but it's so important to thank them for that. If you are looking for a new or used vehicle, they are family-owned and operated for over 25 years. You can visit them at greenvilletoyota.com. You can give them a call at 252-321-3000, or you can stop by the lot over on Memorial Drive, and they can help you with a new or used vehicle. Also want to thank Ribeyes Steakhouse. They are located on Fire Tower Road, and they have a location in Williamston as well. Have great steaks, wonderful salad bar. They have a room here in Greenville you can get for a meeting or a bridal shower or any type of event that you might want to carry on there. Ribeyes Steakhouse, we thank them for being a sponsor as well. And Overton Residential Properties, you can reach us at overtonresidential.com or at 252-375-8620. We're in our new location in Uptown Greenville on the corner of 1st and Pitt Street. Stop by anytime and visit us. We love our location. We love being in Uptown. It's really been nice. Trey Williams, me, Terry Williams, or Michelle Connors would be glad to help you with any of your needs for buying or selling a home. So contact us. We're going to take a break and get back and get in our discussion about everything happening in Greenville. Welcome back to our show. We're so glad to have you with us today, Andrew. Why don't you tell us a little bit while we get started about what you do and what the Bureau is all about?
Well, the Convention and Visitors Bureau has a couple different missions. First of all, we want to create a positive economic impact for Greenville and Pitt County through travel and tourism. And that can be a lot of different things. It could be a sports tournament. It could be a convention or meeting. It could be a family reunion, obviously leisure travel. Any reason to bring someone from outside of Pitt County into Pitt County to spend money is good.
That's right.
So that's kind of what we strive for. And we have, a staff that goes out and markets Greenville and Pitt County to those decision makers who can bring those tournaments and meetings and reunions and things like that. So that's really our main focus, is to really help the economy for Greenville and Pitt County. An influx of people coming into your community is going to have a positive economic impact. It's going to help the hotels. It's going to have the restaurants hopping. You're going to have people shopping in stores. And so that helps everybody's businesses. Right. And, of course, that trickles down a little bit, too. So you have an amount of money that's spent in Greenville and Pitt County by, let's say, the United Methodist Conference, which is coming next month, that will total close to $1 million in economic impact. That $1 million is going to recirculate throughout your community a little bit. So, that's one mission that we have. The other mission that we have is educating. And not educating, and sometimes really educating people at home too, but mostly people from out of the area about what's going on in Greenville and Pitt County. A great example that I'll bring up is about 2 months ago, we held the Visit NC 365 conference here in Greenville. And that's really the premier statewide tourism conference for North Carolina. First time it's ever been here. And so we talk about the micro impacts of economic benefit, but the macro impacts are just as important. And that's the exposure of your community. Because what we find, and we find this a lot, is the perception of what Greenville and Pitt County is versus what we really are two different things. So when those individuals came for that conference, I'd say 70% of them had never stepped foot in Greenville and Pitt County before. That's a high number. You get a lot of people from the western part of the state that come to this conference. And everybody, and not just tooting our own horn, but I mean, everyone was so impressed. And they said, we didn't know you had all this here. We didn't know that your uptown was developing so rapidly. We didn't realize the city was this big. So that goes a long way because they're going to go back and tell somebody. And so you've got other people marketing for you as well. So that's kind of the two-pronged approach that we take. We want to make sure that we're doing the micro things, which are bringing people here and spending money, but also the education of teaching people what we're about and what we have, and not only what we have now, but what's going to be happening 2, 3, 4 years down the road.
That's right, planning. Well, just before we get into the discussion about, we're so excited about some things coming up, events coming up, as well as, like you're saying, the planning for the future we hope that will happen. Tell us how you're funded, because I know a lot of people wonder how you're affiliated, obviously, with the city, but how does all that come together?
Well, we're funded by the hotel motel occupancy tax, and that's you go into your hotel here in Greenville, and let's say your room rate's $100. You're going to pay a $6 room tax, and so that goes to the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So since our inception in 1987, we've never gotten a penny from the regular ad valorem fund from the city or the county. So if you're a local taxpayer, you don't pay our salary or what we do. But unfortunately for us, out of that $6 that might be collected off that $100 room rate, and you know it's not a terrible thing, but it's challenging for us. $3 or 50% goes to retire the debt on the convention center. So that leaves $3 out of that $6, and then $1 goes to the convention center to market it because they're marketed by a private firm.
Okay.
So that leaves us really about $2 out of the $6, or 33% of the funding that comes in. I was in a meeting a little bit ago, and I explained to someone at the meeting that if you look at all the CVBs across the state of North Carolina, we're the 10th largest city in North Carolina. So I took the list of 10 CVBs. We're funded last.
Wow.
And then I took another list of CVBs that were in cities that were not as big as ours, and we were still at the bottom. And so it makes it tough to be able to really be competitive with other cities when you're struggling for your funding. And believe me, we're grateful for what we get, and I think we do a lot with what we do get.
Is that the only funding?
That's the only funding that we
you
get,
have?
yes.
So you're not in Pitt County or Greenville's budgets?
No, we're not. We're just through the hotel motel tax.
One of the reasons I like you guys so much is you do so much for so little. I mean, I hate to say that, but
I guess you're welcome.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, it's amazing what you guys do. I mean, that was one of the first things that I learned when we were going through the orientation when I first got on the city council in 2015. You know, I found it was so interesting that you do so much for so little, but you're like a very, very integral part of Greenville. I mean, it really, when it comes down to it, you know, we thrive as a community based off of people coming here, spending money, and you know what you guys do. You know, with the sports department or sports
tourism
in the area. I mean, it's amazing. You know how many people actually come here, and when you look at some of the numbers that you've presented to me in the past about how much money that's brought in here because of sports tourism, it's amazing.
People like their sports, and they'll travel for sports. And you got to give the credit to the staff that goes out and markets. Gray Williams is our sports sales manager, and she does a great job. Goes all over the country talking to people about coming to bring their tournaments to Greenville and Pitt County, and we've been successful. I mean, she's been able to bring things that have never been to North Carolina before. We've got a great lacrosse tournament coming, Elite Lacrosse out of Baltimore, Maryland, that has one lacrosse tournament in North Carolina, and it's going to be in Greenville. And that's 3,000 kids.
Wow.
Also a lacrosse camp that they've kind of condensed into it too, as well. And those relationships aren't met by sitting and waiting for your phone to ring. You've got to go out and get that business. And that's what I think people don't always understand is they think, people come to Greenville anyway. Well, there's two types of groups that you look at. There's that built-in business, like an ECU football game weekend. We don't have anything to do with that. We could disappear off the face of the earth, and all those people would come, and that economic impact would be felt throughout the community. But until they schedule 365 home games, we need to be out there bringing other things here to supplement and augment that economic impact for those things that are happening, in the fall. Hence an ECU football game or something like that. So we compete against other destinations. They don't automatically pick Greenville. We fight against Asheville, Charlotte, Greensboro, Raleigh, Wilmington, Fayetteville, Chapel Hill, Durham, all those cities like that for business. So we've got to be out there, and if we're not out there, we won't be successful.
Yeah, I mean it's extremely important. I think one thing that people should understand is that as a city, we only have a limited amount of funds that we can use to run our city.
Sure.
And two of our largest ones are the ad valorem tax revenue, and the other is the sales tax revenue. And to be honest with you, the ad valorem tax revenue has been very, very stagnant over the last several years. But one of the things that, because of the general legislature and some of the moves that they've made up there, the sales tax has gone up exponentially over the years. I mean, we've tried to be as conservative as possible, but, people should understand that, when we bring people in, when you guys put on these events and you bring people to our community to spend money, that pays for, our fire and rescue, our police officers, and some of the necessary components to our community. And, hopefully we'll continue to grow those and get more people coming here. And, I'm grateful for the fact that you guys have put so much effort into bringing people here. But it kind of brings me to my next question. I'll put you on the spot here. What are some other initiatives that you could think of that would help to bring people to our community? I mean, there's been talk about, sports complexes, triangular fields and rectangular fields like we've talked about earlier. Are there any things that you think as a community we could benefit from if we were to offer in our community?
Sure, and if it's okay, I'll start with the sports just to kind of give an overview of where we are. We did have a sports study done, and it really listed 3 primary ways to look at bringing more tourism, sports-related tourism here, and one was a natatorium, looking at building a natatorium. The second was an indoor facility for basketball and volleyball, and then the third was more triangular and rectangle fields, so outdoor space. We need either of those we could work with. I was talking to our sports sales manager before, and basically we can't sell any more baseball or softball tournaments right now because we just don't have the fields. We're full up for the spring, summer, and then the fall gets a little dicey because you have to deal with ECU home game weekends, and every facility we have to use, we're number 2 on the list. So if we want to use ECU's facilities, they're great. They work with us, but it's for the students first,
right.
And it's for the D1 athletes first. Same thing with our rec and parks. We got a great rec and parks group, but it's for the residents first. And we do get to utilize some of those facilities from time to time, but it's going to be for the residents first, and we'll kind of get what I call the leftovers, which is fine. We'll take anything we can get. High schools, same way. We go to Pitt County Schools and we say we're going to need these fields, or we're going to need for the students first. We may have this tournament. And so what Gray's finding when she's on the road is people want to plan for 2018 right now. We're looking at sports events for 2018, and sometimes we can't give them an answer. And if you can't give somebody an answer, you're out of the mix.
Else.
Yeah. So when we look at something like triangle fields for more baseball, we could use them. I know there's people saying, gosh, in Rocky Mount, they've got this huge complex. They do. But we feel like there's enough business to go around, number one. Number two, and maybe this is me doing my job, but Greenville, I think, amenity-wise, has more to offer.
That's right.
For individuals during their off time. So we feel pretty confident that we could make that happen. So the sports we're very excited about. We know it's going to take some time. You talked about funding sources earlier. Just this past week in the legislature, there was a new bill introduced called House Bill 900, which would actually allow municipalities to levy a 1.5% food and beverage tax, which is to be used specifically for economic development projects. So that's very early on in the process, but things like that are maybe potential options to help us bring some of that sports infrastructure that we need. And I think the other component is if you built something, let's say for instance, and I'm not saying this is where a sports complex would go, but let's just say you went north of the river where there's ample land. Hopefully you build that complex and then you have private investors coming in and saying, hey, it'd be a good idea for a hotel out here. We see there's sports teams out there. A couple of restaurants go out there, some shops go out there. So the tax base is increasing that way as well. So it's kind of a circle. But the long story short is every individual that's watching this at home should want us to be successful because last year they paid almost $100 less in taxes because of the money that tourism brought in. And so we're making a difference. We're helping the economy, and we're hopefully helping the residents pay less taxes when you have, as you said, PJ, that inflicts a sales tax. And that's what's really important.
I've been to the complex many times last year with my grandsons for baseball tournaments at Rocky Mount. But you're absolutely right. If you're there for a 3-day tournament or even a 2-day, it's usually at least 2 days, you don't have a lot of choices for eating. You've got to really search out. They just don't have a lot to offer like Greenville does. And I think we definitely, even if we had something here we could offer and they still had their tournaments, we even know that some people who go to tournaments, they stay in Greenville in hotels here. So I think we'll complement each other. I don't think it'll be a back and forth, why are you doing that type of thing? More so as, hey, let's do something together. Let's do these tournaments, coordinate them, and I think it could be powerful.
We've had those conversations with the Rocky Mountain people, and they're not really opposed to more fields
Right.
in Greenville. There's actually some events that are too big for them
Right.
that they'd like to host that we could actually even partner on, where you'd have half the play here, half the play in Rocky Mount.
Right.
But it's something to really look forward to, and I don't know which direction it's going to go, but it's on the table. People are talking about it, and that's a far cry from where we were even a year ago.
Right.
So it's a positive.
Yeah. One of the things that we spoke about at our last city council meeting was we had the option of the Coastal Plains League, bringing a team here in town. And one of the biggest issues that we have with bringing a team here is we just don't have the facility, that a team could come in and make home. We've had a lot of pushback with, I think it was the Greenville Babe Ruth League. They really don't want us to go into the Guy Smith Stadium, and one of the things that they had mentioned, we could make modifications to that stadium and make it work, but we don't want to step on their toes by any means. And it goes back to we've got very limited space in this town, and one of the things that came up was that we thought, well, maybe it would be a good idea that we build a stadium, and then around that stadium we created triangular fields all around it, and we could use it. And I think I spoke with you about this too, about having, teams could go into the big stadium, when they're playing, and they could play in there, because the thing about the Coastal Plains League, it's only a 60-game season, so it's not very long, and there's only 30 home games. So, the big issue that we had, I think, on the council was that you're asking us to make a, $5 to $10 million
Right.
investment into the community for a team that's going to play there 30 times a year, and that's a tremendous amount of money. But talking to you today, and understanding that there's a huge need for that type of complex, that's, to me, that's exciting. I mean, I've been a part of baseball, playing professional baseball, and playing summer leagues as well. And one of the reasons that I really decided to stay here in Greenville was because of the baseball atmosphere and how neat it really is here. I mean, we have a lot of people that are invested or excited about the sport of baseball, but it's a big investment. I think that. We as a council kind of have seen, the potential with this one. What are your thoughts as far as the Coastal Plains League coming to town? Do you think that would be a benefit for you? And
yeah, I mean, it definitely would be a benefit. There's two ways to look at it, and the honest answer for the Wood Bat League, is it an economic development project, just the league itself? And the answer is really probably not, because, as you said, they play 30 games. They only play one game at a location, then that team will move to another location. So you're not really getting the heads in beds. You're not getting the longevity. As an amenity, it would be an incredible asset, because what you want as a larger city, as a growing city, is you want to diversify your amenity list. And so having summer baseball, I think, would be a huge thing for people coming in town. Maybe convention attendees coming in. Hey, what can we do tonight? Or there's a summer Wood Bat League game over at the stadium. So that helps with the overall perception of your community and the amenities that you have. I think the even more important part is, if you build a stadium, what you're really doing is planning for the future. And so you can have, and Gray knows this very well, she'll go and sell tournaments. And the championship game is always, if we can, we get it into one of the bigger stadiums here, and the kids love that. That's a big incentive for them to play. It's an incentive for the tournament organizers to pick you over maybe another location that doesn't have that opportunity, to put you in a D1 facility or a larger stadium that seats 2,000. So it would give us the opportunity to sell more, and I think you would have, if you had some other fields right there, I'd love to see, if it went that way, a stadium and then auxiliary fields, and have a big complex with the stadium as the main feature of that complex, and go from there. Not only triangle fields, but maybe some rectangle fields too, because you can really diversify those fields into a lot of different sports.
Sure.
That's exciting. I mean, I just think the whole idea, we know we're a sports-minded community, and that just fits in to me with our lifestyle and what we like here, especially even with ECU, even though that's not, about East Carolina necessarily, but that puts us in that mentality and that feeling of, being all about sports all through the year with ECU, and that just rolls right over into the community. And of course, right now, my grandsons and a lot of other kids, right into baseball, like, it's a crazy time, but it's great, and people are just all over the place with baseball right now.
It is, and I think the other thing that you have to think about it, if you're a resident here, I'm saying, we can bring in a lot of economic impact, and that's good for the community. But I know, my kids are older now, college age, or just one left in high school, so they're not in Little League and things like that anymore. But there's kids practicing in place in just any field that they can find right now. And so I was talking to someone that was in a field that was next to 3 baseball diamonds practicing. And, if someone gets a hold of one and hits it out of the park, that ball's coming to where they are. And so, you got to be careful. But I think it would offer an amenity for the residents as well, maybe more practice space, things like that.
That's right.
But the other part of this is if you do something like a sports complex, you have to have a growing amenity list for those people to have things to do. Because in sports, you have more off time than in most things. So when you go to a convention and meeting, you're working all day. There might be an event at night. Maybe there's one off night in a 3-day period that you get to go and explore the area. But these kids and their families, they're playing ball, and they may be done by 12 o'clock in the at lunchtime, and they've got the rest of the day to fill. So that's another reason why sports is attractive. You've got a lot of explore hours, what we call explore hours. You get to go spend money and explore the area versus maybe a convention and meeting attendee. So we've got some things we're working on
sounds like it.
to do.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and wrap up our discussion about everything going on at the Bureau. Okay. Welcome back. We've had a great discussion, very informative about some things that are going on with Andrew Schmidt here today. And I think you want to tell us about a great event that you all are planning. In the planning stages still, but almost here?
It's in the planning stages, and I'd even say early planning stages. And it's not an event, it's actually a trail.
Oh, wow.
We are working to establish a beer and barbecue trail for Pitt County.
Okay.
And so as everybody knows, we've had several craft breweries come online. We have another one coming online at the end of this month in Pitt Street Brewery. But I actually went to a craft brewery conference in Asheville about a month ago. Somebody had to go, so I said I'll go. Yeah. But it's actually big business. I mean, it's really a tool to draw people into your community. So we've been bouncing around the idea of having a beer and barbecue trail where we have a passport type system where if you're from outside of Pitt County and you want to experience the culinary tastes of Eastern North Carolina barbecue. And by the way, we've got 3 restaurants on the historic barbecue trail for North Carolina, so that also helps us with promoting. But you'll come to our office, or you'll download the app, or you'll download something off the computer, a PDF file, and it'll be a passport. And the idea is for you to come into Greenville and Pitt County and experience our different craft breweries and our different barbecue restaurants. And so let's say PJ spends, and you're not going to be able to do it all in one day, which is by design, because we want people to stay overnight, want them to come back and visit us. But if you finish it, you'll come back to our office, and we will reward you for finishing the trail. And you will get a cheesy T-shirt. Which,
people like T-shirts.
People will maim for T-shirts. I mean, T-shirts are big. So you'll get a T-shirt which will have the trail on it, so you'll be advertising for us when you wear that. And it's really just designed to have something different for Greenville and Pitt County. We've seen it. We did some research, and we did our due diligence, and it's working very well in other areas of the country. Asheville, of course, is probably our craft brew capital of North Carolina, and really the Southeast. But it will draw people in to participate. People will travel for culinary travel. We call it culinary travel, or foodieism, whatever you want to call it. But they will come, and we'll have people, spend money here and stay in our hotels. We'll also have opportunities for things to do for people that are here for sports tournaments, or maybe they're here for a meeting or convention. we thought about having, a lot of board of directors will go off on retreat. They go on board retreats. Well, your retreat's going to be the Beer and Barbecue Trail for Pitt County. So stay for a day and a half and get out and enjoy
great.
our food and our craft breweries and so forth. So that's one initiative that we're really excited about. I'm excited to do quality control once it gets done and make sure that it's all working right. But we're excited about that.
Sounds
And
like it.
with some of the bigger events we have coming in this fall when it's ready to roll, I think we're going to be having a lot of people take part in it.
Sounds great. It sounds great. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks
It's
for
been
having me.
Great information that we really need to know about, so we know we can make our plans and put it on our calendars and get ready to participate in all the events you've got planned. And it's a good job and good work you all are doing. We appreciate you all being with us today. We want to thank our sponsors again: Greenville Toyota, Ribeye Steakhouse, and Overton Residential Properties. You can watch us on Wednesday nights at 6:30. And on Fridays at 6:30 and Saturday mornings at 9:30. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.